Now that we've hit the Olympic break, the NHL playoffs are just around the corner. Welcome into the Eastern Conference breakdown here for the NHL. I'm Gabe Aker and I'm with Avi Schoenberg. Avi, the Eastern Conference has had so many shocking teams this year rising up and rising down. So the first thing I want to ask you is, who's been the most surprising team, at least in your eyes?
For me, it's got to be the Pittsburgh Penguins. They have the veterans, but it didn't look like for me that they were going to be in the position they are now. I mean, you have Crosby, you have Malkin, you have Letang. All the other guys are getting to the back end of their career, but they are still having very good years. And pretty much the reason why the Pittsburgh Penguins are where they are in the standings is because of these three players and how dominant they have been.
Well, I will say also, to just piggyback on the Pittsburgh Penguins, usually there's the saying, it's not your granddad's team. In this case for the Pittsburgh Penguins, it kind of is, because as you mentioned, Sidney Crosby, Evgeny Malkin, Chris Letang, all still putting in work in their late 30s. But at least for me, it might not be a super surprising team in terms of success, but the Tampa Bay Lightning, how about them this year? 78 total points. They're first in the Eastern Conference, tied with the Carolina Hurricanes. And the way they've been playing right now, especially with Jake Gensel doing what he's doing, Nikita Kucherov leading the NHL in assists right now, almost 100 points at the Olympic break. The Lightning are just super strong all around. Andrei Vasilevsky almost has a .920 save percentage, has the most wins in the entire league. The only issue for them is the uncertainty about Braden Point's injury that happened earlier on in January, and then also they average almost 13 penalty minutes per game. That's first in the NHL. Avi, when you're looking at what the rankings look like right now in terms of a wild card, what's one team that is in right now? As we mentioned, there's a lot of surprising teams that might end up falling out by the end of the season.
It's got to be the Buffalo Sabres game. I mean, the Sabres went on a huge streak earlier this season. They've been playing really well. Guys like Alex Tuch and Tage Thompson have stepped up. However, I feel like the goaltending hasn't been as consistent as it needs to be. And although they sit at 70 points and in that first wildcard spot, the Atlantic Division is that good. You have teams like, as you talked about, the Lightning, the Canadiens, and the Red Wings that are going to be battling out for those top three spots. But those wildcards are really going to come down to those Metro teams, such as the Blue Jackets, the Senators, and the Capitals, who are trying to get that final say in the playoffs. What about for you, Gabe? Who has been a team that might drop out of the race? Who are you thinking?
Well, I'm glad you brought up the Metro, Avi, because the Metro is super messy right now. The team that I'm looking at is currently sitting in the third seed and that last final divisional spot in the Metropolitan Division. That's the New York Islanders. Now, the New York Islanders have sort of built this identity in terms of we're just going to play really strong defense and have a stout goaltender. In this case, Ilya Sorokin's in net for the Islanders. He's one of the best statistically in the entire league. But again, the same thing that happens for the Islanders almost every year. Seems like they kind of hit that wall. Now, they're bottom 5 in expected goals per game. We're doing a little bit better than that right now. But the way the Islanders play, they want to make their opponents mess up more than they do. I think at some point that's really going to end up hurting them, though, especially down the stretch, and especially with a team like the Blue Jackets, who have been on fire as of lately. But on the other side of that, Blue Jackets are one of those teams right now that's on the outside looking in. Who's a team that you think is going to make the playoffs that isn't currently in the top 8 at this point?
It's got to be the Florida Panthers game. I mean, the Panthers back-to-back says a lot for itself, but also you got to think the Panthers, although they're without their captain, Alexander Barkov, who's a huge part of that team, they got Kachuk back as of late, and they also are that good. You guys, I mean, Sam Reinhart, Anton Liddell, and you got Bobrovsky in that. I have a feeling that they're going to make a late push. Yes, they're about 10 points out of the playoff spot right now, but I talked about how good that Atlantic is. It's because the Panthers are one of those teams that could be a contender. Yes, they hit a little bit of a rough point in the middle of the season, but still they're going to rally around it. I believe they're going to make the playoffs. What about you, Gabe?
Well, and for Florida, I mean, if they win a couple of games, they're right back in that dogfight in the Atlantic Division. So it's going to be interesting to see what the Florida Panthers do. At least for me, and this is probably a trendy pick, but the Columbus Blue Jackets, Avi. This is a team that's been red hot since getting their new head coach. They have strong offensive weapons like Kirill Marchenko and Zach Werenski, who is, again, in the race for the Norris, one of the more underrated players in the league, I feel like, in terms of his production, but also at the same time, their defense has gotten more consistent, their goaltending's gotten more consistent, and it feels like they've been playing closer and closer to a total of 60 minutes in a hockey game. There's going to be so many fireworks up ahead, trade deadline coming up too here in the NHL, but it's going to be a fantastic finish, so many close teams here in the Eastern Conference. But that's going to do it for us here with the Eastern Conference Breakdown with Gabe Aker and Avi Schoenberg.